Amazon Prime's new late night show talking about the NBA just recently talked about the MVP race, and they had some interesting takes, some good takes, some bad takes. It's a 7-minute video. I'd like to give my thoughts. Taylor Rooks, you look fantastic. Let's get into it.
Players can only miss 17 games before they are ineligible.
And we will talk about the 65 game rule in a second. They talk about it a little later on, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Who you would choose to be MVP if the season ended today? I'm going to start with you, Steve Nash.
I think Shea's the front runner for me. I mean, guy's efficiency.
Strongly disagree with Shea. Strongly disagree.
His team's outstanding. I mean, you could make the case that.
By the way, they're still the first seed without him even playing. I think I want to put that out there. Like, they're still the first seed. I guess Jalen Williams, granted, hasn't been playing all season. He says in a little bit later on that, you know, he's playing better than last year, so he deserves it again. Which I don't even think he deserved it last year. I think Jokic deserved it last year. And I think Jokic deserves it this year also. I'll talk about my MVP race in a little bit, right? But the way they're talking about Shea and not talking about Jokic, you'll see. They bring up 7 guys, 8 guys before they ever say Jokic's name. They never say Jokic's name when talking about the actual MVP voting. It's crazy. Like, no one's talking about Jokic. Jokic is the MVP. Jokic is leading the league, rebounds and assists, and he's what, dropping like 28 points a game? What? And they're still the 3rd seed, and with a extremely injured Nuggets team. I just don't see how Shea's over Jokic, but it's whatever.
He has great players around him, and they're the best team, but he won it last year. He's gotten even better this year, and so for me...
That's just that makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me.
Dirk, who are you picking?
I mean, Shea is still his to lose.
Bruh, and then Dirk says the same shit, bruh. And I hate it because I can't say anything bad about it. I can't say anything bad because Nash and Nowitzki are both Hall of Famer, you know, elite, like the greatest of the greatest, and who the fuck am I to tell them they're wrong? But I just don't see it, and I don't get how they can have this level of basketball IQ and still say Shea, especially with all the foul baiting, and I just don't see it. I don't see how Shea's the better player than Jokic at all in a million in a million years across any universes. I just don't see how Shea's better than Jokic. I just don't see it.
You know, obviously he still has a little cushion there.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think we have to talk about Cade Cunningham and what he's doing.
We do have to talk about Cade Cunningham, and this came out like the day after he got shut down by the Spurs. He went like 5 for 26 from the field, like the day right after that happened, and I think that's kind of hilarious, the timing of it. Yeah, Cade is probably, if everything was fully, like, if everyone was fully healthy with no 65-game rule, Cade is probably in 3rd place, behind Jokic and Shea. With the 65-game rule, Jokic is probably going to miss, so Shea, it's probably going to be him or Shea.
Not saying he's going to win, but he should be talked about, especially given the fact that now Jokic is 1 game away. Shea doesn't have that many games. Wemby is incredible, and I think that his work.
And shout out Blake Griffin, because he says a bunch of guys besides just, oh yeah, Shea. But Wemby's impact defensively is, you can't even put it on a stat sheet. That's the thing. Even if offensively he doesn't have his best day, defensively he is the best defender in the world every single day. There's never a day that he walks on the court and he's not the best defensive player on the court. So I think, and that just doesn't really get added into the MVP vote, especially because this is a team where people thought they were going to be a play-in team, and they're 2 games away from the 1st seed, and Wemby's not getting talked about at all for MVP. And then last year, we'll talk about the 65-game rule. I told you, he missed DPOY last year because of that 65-game rule. And so, you know, we'll talk about that later, how it impacts legacy, how it impacts salary, but yeah, Wemby needs to be talked about when it comes to MVP. Just the sheer defensive output he has, and he can still drop 25 points, 10 to 15 rebounds, right? But it's not only that, it's not even the blocks, it's not even the stat sheet. People will just straight up not shoot the ball. That's what Cade did. It's how they beat the Pistons. And it just sucks that he's not being talked about up there with, you know, with Cade and them.
Worth to that team goes so far beyond this offensive stats because we see how many ways he affects the game. Another shout out, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I don't hear his name talked about enough. I know
with the 65-game rule, if we're excluding Shea, Jaylen Brown is my number 2. If we're including Shea and Jokic, I'd probably have Jaylen Brown number 4. But the fact that the Celtics are the 2nd seed in the East with no Tatum.
You know, sometimes how do you feel about a team? Like, we didn't mention Luka yet, and he's leading the league in scoring because we don't feel great about the Lakers. We haven't mentioned Ant.
But if you watch this full thing through and they talk about their MVPs, they say Shea, they say Cade, they say Wemby, they say Jaylen Brown, they say Luka, they say Anthony Edwards. If you watch the show, they have not said Jokic's name once. They haven't. They have not said Jokic's name once. So the first time they say Jokic's name, I'll let you know.
You know, it will be fascinating, though, if guys start missing too many games and we start going down. And what does that say to this award and going forward?
Like, let's say Cade wins this MVP this year. There's an asterisk next to that MVP. It really, even if there's not technically one, there is. Because and there should be an asterisk next to Evan Mobley's DPOY last year. Because of the 65-game rule, Wemby missed that DPOY. And that's something that can add towards his all-time legacy. Imagine taking a DPOY away from... I don't fucking know. I can't even name one. What the fuck? Why can't I name? Imagine taking LeBron. I guess take away LeBron's, right? Like, it adds to it a little bit, especially with Wemby, who's known as a defensive monster. And that 65-game rule basically ripped it away last year. What, he misses an extra 5 games and Evan Mobley's a better defender than him? That makes no fucking sense, and you know it doesn't make any sense. And so it's definitely an interesting conversation to be had because awards will have asterisks next to it. And they talk about that adds on to All-Pro, that adds on to, salary incentives.
Yeah.
Every year there's multiple people that are deserving. But what happens if 2-3 elite guys don't make 65 games? Do we have a problem here?
And there we go. We're already missing Giannis and Steph from All-NBA. And let's say Jokic misses the one game he has left. You're telling me Jokic is not an All-NBA? Are you kidding me? You know what? We'll let them talk a little more. I'm sorry.
How big of a problem is the 65-game rule?
We already do have the problem.
Problems here?
It is a problem, but I think the problem also is, okay, so where do you move the goalposts? And you can't keep moving the goalposts. It's unfair to past winners. It's unfair to guys now who are trying to win. So I don't know. I completely understand.
I think 17 games is too little. I think Dirk talks about it a little bit later. Jokic had basically one significant injury, and that means he can't win an award. That makes zero fucking sense. 0 sense.
And them trying to put some parameters around it and saying, you can't be sitting out 20 games a year.
So would you rather go back to just, it's vote on it, doesn't matter how many games, or would you rather bring it down to 60?
I would rather just go back to the way it was, Steve. Since you're talking to me, Steve, I'd rather just go back to the way it was. I really don't care for this rule at all, to be honest.
Go back to what it was and you just vote. And voters, listen, you vote.
They do.
Voters,
You're saying trust the voters.
Voters are smart.
See, and this is what made me want to make a video. I really like you, man. You're a great guy, and you see the great in everybody. You see the good in everybody. Blake, the voters don't know what the fuck they're doing. The fact that Shea won last year is already evidence that the voters really don't know what they're doing. And I know it's a different sport, but we're going to talk about how smart the voters are. Bill Belichick, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the voters. Like, Blake, I'm glad that you see the good in everybody, but who has more ball knowledge, you or Taylor Rooks, who looks fabulous, by the way?
You have to understand, if a guy has missed 20...
Voters are not smart, Blake. I just want to put that out there. The voters are not smart, so don't give the voters the benefit of the doubt and the benefit of the doubt of this. Like, they're not smart. We need to look over them.
25 games, that's not an MVP.
Okay, but that's the thing.
The problem, Blake, is that you are smarter than everybody that's a voter. That's the problem. You have more basketball IQ, more basketball knowledge than Taylor Rooks. You do. And there's other fucking media people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about that vote for MVP. So let's not act like the MVP voters are fucking saints and they're geniuses, because they're not.
Any number and just say, if they have missed this amount, then they shouldn't win. That's still giving. That's quantifying.
I think 25 games is a lot better than 17. I wouldn't have a problem with 25. I know I said go back to the way that it used to be, but playing what is that? 57 games? You should be able to play 60 games. The MVP should be able to play 60 games. I think that kind of makes sense.
The games that they should
Well,
play.
it's up to the voter. I mean, if
It's up to the voter.
You
as a voter. The voters are fucking dog shit. The voters are dog shit. Let's stop.
25. He's missed 25 games. Plus, their team was above 500 when he was sitting out. All of those things should factor in. It can't just
Blake, they should factor. An MVP voter just looks at who's the top. You know what the argument last year was? It wasn't, it was who's the best player on the best team. And that's usually what people look for. Oh, who has the most points per game? Oh, that's a high number. Oh, he's averaging 31 points. That's pretty good. How many wins does he have? Okay, 50. Yeah, he'll be MVP. Bro, they're not looking at, they're not deep diving fucking doing detective work at this shit. They're just taking a glance. Like, they already know who they're gonna vote for before they even go in. You know, they just look at, like, they're not doing that. Who has the best story? Okay, yeah, I'll go with them. Like, that's it. That's all it is. Like, there is no analytical sense of it.
be, in my opinion, can't just be the hard 65 game rule. If you play 64 and you average 31.8 and you're Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and your team's #1 in the NBA, I
And
just
when you play, you win 8.
You know, you miss a game and it's like, who gives a fuck? It's just like, who gives a fuck? And so, same way Wemby missed DPOY last year, we're gonna have Jokic miss MVP this year. Chance Shea misses MVP this year. And if that happens, if let's say Wemby misses his benchmark too, so he doesn't get DPOY. So none of the best players get the best awards. So by definition, there's an asterisk next to it. I think the 65 game rule has caused a lot of trouble. There definitely needs to be a change. I kind of like the 25 games. I kind of like that.
Wrong with going back if you find out, we have data now that says we're not comfortable with this.
Yeah,
Well said, Steve Nash. I cut you off a couple times there. I'm sorry, but that was well said. You know, there's nothing wrong with saying we were wrong. We tried to do something cool. It didn't work. Nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Saying we were wrong, let's go back. Now, will they do it? I don't know. Will they die on this hill? I hope not. But there's a chance.
I think 65 games are just a little high. If you look at Joker, he had one.
I'm pretty sure we're 6.5 minutes in of this 8-minute video. I told you I'd tell you the first time, and I'm pretty sure that that's the first time they've said Jokic's name. This is that in the last minute of the video they said Jokic's name, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's the first time I'm noticing it, and that's absurd. Because why do they like the narrative of Joker? They talk about, we don't talk about Jaylen Brown. We don't talk about Jaylen Brown. Motherfucker, you don't talk about Jokic. You don't talk about Jokic. It's super frustrating because what do you mean we're 6.5 minutes in an 8-minute video and we're finally talking about the best player in the NBA?
Year's injury, and now he's one game away of not.
And we're not even talking about it in the sense of like MVP. We're talking about the sense of like, oh, he only has one more game left.
Not only we're talking MVP, but we're also talking for all NBA teams. You know, where we already have no Giannis now, no Steph.
And there we go. All NBA teams, we're going to have, you know, it's kind of like when an all-star game a reserve goes out, so they need to get a reserve. It's like, who gives it, like, these prestigious awards are going to reserve. Because what do you mean Wemby has a chance not to make DPOY when he is clear and away, head and shoulders above everyone else? It's definitely tricky, especially when there's contracts involved, especially when there's maxes and super maxes involved, because let's say you played 64 games and not 65 games. It's tricky, and I don't like it.
That's tied to salary bonuses too.
That's tied to salary
Isn't that right? That's right, Steve. It's because I watched this video. Steve brought up a very good point right there.
bonuses.
Which is really why voters have to take it as seriously as possible. It's just,
Yeah, but voters are fucking like the fact that voters are in charge of these guys' salary. Like, well, they're not, but man, I just don't like the way they're talking about these voters, because the voters, if I was up there, I'd say the voters are already fucking stupid. Like, they're already dumb. If anything, help the voters more. Like, just like give them, I don't even know how they do it. Fucking give them a puzzle or something. Like, give them a square and then a square hole and see how long it takes them to get it in there.
just the incentives and the money that is on the line if you are making these votes. A lot of it is tied into things like All-Star and All-NBA. So
you also don't want guys, you know, if they're close, right? Like Jokic is close, and you don't want guys to try to rush back just for the sake of being.
I think that's the last good point made in this video, is that, like, you don't want to see guys get injured. Like, let's say Wemby gets another, like, strain in his calf or something and has to miss 7 games, but he doesn't want to miss that DPOY, so he plays another game and risks injury. I keep saying Wemby because I'm a Spurs fan, and it's been a really long time since we've been good, but it's a good feeling. But yeah, and then I also want to add, like, right after this, Taylor Rooks tells a story about how she went to Magic City as let's say she's in her early 20s. Like, she's talking about, like, oh, it was a great experience. For those that don't know, Magic City is a strip club, and they brought the Wings over, and I guess the Atlanta Hawks are having a Magic City crossover, and then Taylor Rooks just goes on like a little anecdote talking about how much of a good time she had at a strip club on Amazon Prime. I was shook when she was talking about this. Can I see Taylor?
in this
Taylor, can I see one more,
conversation, because
just
at
one
the
more
end
time
of the
before I
day,
go,
like,
Taylor?
we wanna
Watching. Don't
Woo! You have a great day, Taylor.